Ever feel foggy, fatigued, or anxious for no real good reason? Maybe you slept a good night and you had a good breakfast and your brain is still not functioning right for some reason. You walk into a room, you don't know why the heck you went there. You may have read the same sentence over and over again in a book and you cannot focus, you're not motivated. And most people think it's their brain, it's their head not functioning well. But what if I tell you it's your gut? Because, yep, you heard me right, it could be your gut. So, what's happening in your digestive system actually plays a huge role in how your brain functions. And today, I'm going to show you why optimizing your gut isn't just about digestion. It's one of the most powerful ways to elevate actually your focus, your energy, actually your clarity, and your mood. Welcome, I'm Heike Fallon. I'm a personal high performance coach and a neurosports therapist, and I helped numerous of my clients over the years to really reclaim their health and help them really live longer, healthy, stay focused, stay productive with a brain-based approach, and gut function is for sure part of it. So if your gut is off, actually your brain is off. That's just how simple it is. And your gut isn't just a tube for food, it's actually an intelligent living ecosystem. There's a lot going on in your gut, and you probably heard it before. People call it the second brain because there's so much going on, and this is backed up by science. Inside your digestive tract lives like a whole nother nervous system, a network of like 100 million neurons. That's almost as much as or as many as in your spinal cord. So this system runs your digestion, but also communicates constantly with the central nervous system. So this communication happens through something that's called gut-brain axis. It's a two-way connection between your gut and your brain. So gut talks to the brain, brain talks to the gut. So they influence each other. And what's really cool fact is that about 90% of your serotonin, that's a neurotransmitter, a chemical responsible for your mood and regulation and sleep and cognitive function, is actually made in your gut, not in your brain. So when your gut is inflamed or imbalanced, your serotonin takes a hit and your mood might be dipping, your focus might be not as good, and your brain is just not functioning as well as it should. And this isn't just about, feeling off. Gut dysfunction has been linked to really also mental health challenges like anxiety, depression, cognitive decline. And so the gut really matters. So it's no wonder people feel like they are, have a mental fog where their gut is out of balance, because quite literally your gut and your brain are talking. And when your gut isn't healthy, it sends distress signals to the brain, and the brain cannot ignore that. So that's why, we're definitely feeling it in the gut as well when we're not feeling good. So how does this gut-brain connection actually work? The gut-brain axis is like a kind of like a high-speed information, like a super highway. It's your nervous system, your immune system, your endocrine system, and most importantly, the microbiome. Those are like the, it's a whole massive community of bacteria, fungi, viruses, and other microbes in the gut, in your belly, basically. So it's not just hanging out there for one, it's actually actively influencing your system. So how much inflammation is in your body is determined there. The neurotransmitters are being made there. And how you react to stress depends on also how well your gut function is. So if you're already super stressed, it actually can kind of negatively impact your gut function. But also if your gut isn't well, then you might be more stressed. And it's kind of, you're in that spiral, right? So when your microbiome is healthy and diverse, it produces compounds that nourish your brain. So that's a good thing. Then it actually regulates inflammation. It supports your learning, your memory, and it protects against neurodegeneration, like, Alzheimer's and those kind of things. So, but if your microbiome is imbalanced, like too many bad bugs, as you might call them, or not enough good ones, it can release toxic byproducts. It can increase your inflammation, and that can send signals to your brain via the vagus nerve. And that is a major nerve connecting actually your gut and your brain. And the vagus nerve plays a huge role in regulating digestion, your heart rate, as well as your emotional state. So it starts in the brainstem and connects to a lot of organ. Actually is also influenced by breathing. So when your gut is irritated, it fires signals up to the brain, which gets interpreted as a threat. And that can even then trigger anxiety, brain fog, or even panic responses. So this means your gut isn't just passively receiving instructions from the brain, it's actively influencing your mental state every single day. Again, it's a two-way relationship and we cannot ignore it. And that's why it's called the second brain. So when you work on one, it actually helps the other. So when you work on your gut, it helps your brain. If you work on your brain, it can help your gut. So you can work on it both directions. So what system throws all this out of balance? Well, there's 5 main, as I call them, disruptors that may not be great for your gut. One big one, high processed food. Yep, that refined sugar, artificial sweeteners, especially the certain foods that have a lot of preservatives in them. So they are much harder for the gut to digest, and it can actually damage the gut lining, and it makes it really hard for the body to absorb nutrients, and it can really spread easily inflammation. Another big thing is chronic stress. So ongoing stress. Stress is good, but if it's ongoing, if it's chronic stress, you actually change the composition in your gut bacteria. So yes, your stress, if you permanently stress, it changes how your microbiome functions and the diversity of it, and it can absolutely impact the whole system, and you get stuck in that fight and flight. The next one, sleep. Poor sleep. So we're talking not just quantity, but also quality of sleep. So sleep is really important for your gut and your brain to reset and restore. So without good quality of sleep, your microbiome doesn't get the time it needs to repair, because that happens all at night. And your cognitive function at the end of the day might pay the price for that. Another big one, overuse of antibiotics and medication. And this one makes me slightly angry because I've gone through that. I trusted the doctors, and in my situation with chronic bladder infections in the past, I was giving antibiotic like it's candy. And I was not, at that point years ago, 25 years ago, knowledgeable enough in that field to know how much damage it does. And to rebuild the gut after antibiotics 25 years ago wasn't a big thing. Now there's at least more information out there, but overuse of antibiotics ruins the gut because it kills, yes, the bacteria you don't want, but it also kills all the good bacteria that are needed. And so it took me years to rebuild my gut with the help of a nutritionist. It's possible, but ideally, whenever you have to, I'm not against antibiotics by all means, but if you have to take antibiotics, be very mindful to rebuild your gut right after, and or during, depending on the antibiotic that you're taking. Please check with your doctor, question your doctor about that, but you want to make sure you rebuild the gut every time you're taking antibiotics. And the next one, movement. Keep moving, keep moving, keep moving, because it actually helps your gut as well. So if you're sitting just slouchy on the couch, your whole digestive system actually slows down. It reduces vagus nerve activation, and it really can lead to more gut inflammation and as well brain fog. So keep moving, and just even if it's walking, it doesn't have to be super intense, but any movement helps the gut as well. So all of these things influence the gut, and when they all pile up in multiple things, then it's not a surprise that you feel tired and moody, and not because something is wrong with your mindset, or it's because of your internal environment is out of sync. Your gut isn't functioning as well for your brain, and again, it can create that cycle, and the brain isn't functioning as well. So key is an awareness, because once you see patterns, you can change them. So let's talk about a couple solutions really quick. How do you repair the gut-brain connection? Like I said, if you're taking antibiotics, you want to make sure you take probiotics, or otherwise, especially with food, really rebuild the gut. So food is key. It's very individual as well, so I usually don't like to give too many detailed advice, because you really should be working with a nutritionist if your gut is off like mine was. But artificial sweeteners, processed foods, sugar, all those things you want to stay away from. More likely also any inflammatory foods like red meat might not work very well for you. Acidic food can be a challenge. So it depends on where you're at, and you might have to really fine tune it for you. You do want to activate the vagus nerve. Like I said, it's a big player in that connection. So vagus nerve stimulus can happen with any breathing drill. So breathing is a big one, because your lungs are also connected to the vagus nerve. But humming, gargling, the cold exposure, so the cold plunges, for example, activate the vagus nerve. I personally do not like them, but there's lots of ways to activate the vagus nerve. So the key is to really activate those, and then as well do vision and vestibular work, because all of these things are connected. They all originate the nerves in the brainstem. So if you do not do any visual or vestibular work, I highly recommend to integrate that into your daily routines, and that will in general help your brain function better. And again, as I said, the better your brain functions, the better your gut functions. And can't stress it enough: sleep, sleep, sleep. Make sleep kind of like your job. Most of us aren't sleep enough. You should be sleeping 7 to 9 hours, and it should be good quality. Now, I track my sleep with the Ring, but there's other ways to possibly track it. The key is to really work on that. If your sleep is off, make sure that you work on it. Strategies that I usually like is get sunlight in the morning, because that actually has an impact on your sleep as well, on your circadian rhythm. Really work on your evening routine, like how long before bedtime are you on the screen, like the phone or something like that. When do you eat dinner? And really pay attention to how your evening is and work on that. And in general, another strategy, again, I do a brain-based approach, so move intentionally. And when I'm saying brain-based approach, I'm talking about activating specific areas of the brain with specific exercises. Again, if visual and vestibular exercises aren't part of your routine yet, I highly recommend to integrate them. There's a few videos I've made where there are some of those exercises. Otherwise, you could always reach out via my website and learn more exercises that are brain-based. Last but not least, hydration, so important. I'm always going everywhere with my water bottle. Hydration is extremely important, so make sure you hydrate well. I know most people know that, but common knowledge isn't common practice. So these are all steps to, slowly integrate, and it's not about doing them all at once. Start with one, pick one, and work your way on it depending on what you need most. Now let's just one little side note. I like to go deeper in there because I've struggled with sleep. I've kind of got my sleep very well in line. I've changed my diet back then a lot, and that helped tremendously. And I still at some point struggled with like brain fog. And sometimes it's also important to look at hormones, especially women that are perimenopausal. You might want to consider taking, hormone replacement therapy. Not saying that that's for everyone, but for me, it helped tremendously because if the brain isn't functioning right, like I said, it impacts the gut. So it was very important to get also all other systems in alignment. So if hormones are imbalanced, that can influence everything else as well. So the bottom line is really it's the brain, the body, the gut, everything is super complex, which is really fascinating. I love it. But it also requires a complex and holistic approach. It's not you do one little thing. If you're only working on your sleep, it's not going to fix things. If you're only working on your gut, it's not going to fix all the problems. So it's a complex system and it needs a holistic approach. So make sure you also always kind of assess and reassess how you feel, or use the assessing strategies that I teach. And then always try out, fine tune. There is no one size fits all. We're all different. And that's what, my NeuroHP method does. It's exactly that. It creates a plan, a roadmap that's right for you, because again, nobody is the same. And there is no one program. Here it is. You have to figure out what works for you. So when you activate the right sensory inputs for you, like your eyes, your inner ear, your joint, you rewire your brain, it influences your gut and changes your stress response, and your gut gets better. If you change your food and you sleep better, your gut gets better. That helps your brain. So just pick one strategy to get started with, implement that. It should take only a couple minutes per time. It's about doing what actually works and doing that consistently. So it's not about pushing through. It's actually about implementing brain-based strategies for your brain, but also gut strategies for your gut, because again, they are connected. So it's not like a total overhaul of your life. You just need targeted action. So don't wait until your body screams for the attention. Do it ahead of time. Be proactive. And feel free to check out some of my other videos for more information. Until next time, keep moving, stay curious, and feel your brain from the inside out, and treat your gut in a nice way.